In the early going, it was sourdough bread and a lot of cookies. More recently, the pandemic-prompted shift in our eating habits includes everything from family-style food kits to home canning fruits and vegetables. It's been an abrupt turnaround from the kind of grab-and-go groceries many of us used to rely on. And if it was a big change for us, imagine what it meant for food producers and retailers. No need to imagine. We've got three experts here to tell us all about it. In Halifax, Nova Scotia, Sylvain Charlebois, Scientific Director of the Agri-Food Analytics Lab at Dalhousie University. In Fergus, Ontario, just northwest of Guelph, Jackie Fraser, owner-operator of the family-run grocery store Fraberts Fresh Food. And in the east end of the provincial capital, Marion Chan, principal of TrendSpotter Consulting, which specializes in consumer behavior in the food, beverage, and food service industries. And it's great to have the three of you on TVO tonight. And I just want to start, Marion, maybe you can take us up to, the proverbial 30,000-foot vantage point and just tell us, when the pandemic first hit, how did our food shopping habits change?
Well, I think that when the pandemic hit, a lot of the consumers were struck by panic, and what they tried to do was they tried to load up. So when we first started, people were loading up on a lot of the raw ingredients and the staples and things like flour and toilet paper. And we all heard the story about toilet paper. And partly it was an emotional response of trying to be safe and have everything that they're going to need for the long term, because it was such an unknown about what was going to happen, how long they were going to be in this situation. So a lot of people just bought a lot of food. I don't think that they really thought about what kind of food that they were buying. They were just grabbing whatever they could. And so as a result, a lot of the shelf stable stuff like all of the baking ingredients and vegetables, and apparently frozen pizzas had a big run. So, but the problem with frozen food is that there's only so much space in your freezer. So I'm not sure people were really thinking that clearly at the very, very beginning about what they were buying.
Understood. Jackie, before I ask you the next question, your last name is Fraser. What's your husband's last name?
Is Roberts. So you can see where the name Fraberts comes from.
Exactly right. Your family business is an amalgam of both of your last names. So what happened to your business once the pandemic hit?
So it was crazy. Our sales doubled, actually more than doubled overnight. We really didn't know what to expect, how it was going to play out for us. But same thing, we saw the run on the staples. So it was the potatoes, the carrots, the ground beef, the pasta. And also frozen and canned goods, which we didn't used to, were Fraberts Fresh Food. We didn't used to sell a lot of canned goods and frozen goods, but we quickly pivoted, realizing that was a market that we needed to tap into. And it was just pretty wild in general. Another thing we saw in the very early days was suddenly people were eating breakfast at home. So it was eggs, and it was bread, and it was bananas and yogurt. So a big run on those items. And then about 1 or 2 weeks into the pandemic, the baking craze began, and we used to sell a handful of bags of locally ground flour per week, and suddenly we were flour central and selling it by the 10-kilo bag that we were getting in, like industrial flour that normally would be sold to kitchens. We started selling yeast. We'd never sold yeast before, and we were the only game in town for quite a while with yeast. So it was pretty wild. We had to really pivot, make a lot of changes fast.
Did you have to hire more people?
We had to hire more people, absolutely. We had some staff that needed to self-isolate. We brought on staff quickly. Thank goodness we had just hired a new store manager right before the pandemic hit. His first day was March 18th, but he had come from a big grocery store, so he hit the ground running, and I don't know what we would have done without him. My husband and I worked all day, every day, 7 days a week for about 3 to 4 months during the beginning, just because it was really quite wild.
And let me do one more quick follow-up with you. If you walked into the store, say, a month or two into the pandemic, how would it have looked different, and how would the shopping experience have been different from what people would have seen before March 13th?
Lots of changes. So we moved a lot of things around in the store so that we could have one-way traffic. So we had an indoor and an outdoor. We reorganized all of our banquettes so that people could maneuver around in a sort of a certain flow. Of course, we put up the plexiglass shields, started wearing masks. We were spraying down the carts and the bins after every use. So lots of changes in the store, and also the change in product. We really pivoted on that and brought in products that we hadn't sold before, because we wanted to be want to make it as convenient for our shoppers as possible and keep them as safe and try to be as much of a one-stop shop as we could be.
Gotcha. Sylvain, again, I want to take the bigger picture look now and draw upon your expertise in that. Before the pandemic hit, people obviously ate meals out at restaurants and they cooked meals at home. What was the ratio, the percentage difference between those before pandemic?
Seems like a long time ago, but before March, a typical household was spending about 38% of its budget on food processed and consumed outside the home. So we were looking at a 38-62 split between retail and service. That significantly changed in March and April. We went from 38-62 to 9-91. And that's why we saw a lot of panic buying. So this tsunami coming from food service, which was really collapsing at the time, that's $95 billion worth of business. It went from one sector to another, and retailers like Jackie had to deal with this tsunami. And the other thing that we should underscore here is the virus itself. Back in March, we went through this moment in time just because we didn't know much about the virus, really. We didn't know how public health officials were going to react to the virus. And a lot of people went to the grocery store without knowing really when will be the next time they'll be able to go back to the grocery store. And that's why there was a lot of stuff going on there.
Now, this may be obvious, so forgive me if this is a dumb question, but are people essentially spending the same amount of money? They're just spending it in different places?
So a year ago, we actually predicted that the average family was to spend about $12,600 for the entire year. That would include service and retail. But here's the thing, Steve, when you spend money in a restaurant, it's just not the same money as you were spending in a retail store. There's about a 40% ratio. So you have to spend $1.40 at the restaurant in order to get the same volume of food at retail. And so even though food prices are going up 3 to 4% right now, we actually believe that the average household is spending less money on food compared to last year.
Okay, so not such a dumb question after all. I'm grateful to find out that not all my questions. Okay, good. Marion, back to you on this. Obviously lots of people, I guess particularly, well, listen, I won't make any assumptions here. I would have thought that the more single you are or the younger you are, the more likely you are to sort of eat out or eat fast food as opposed to cook for yourself at home. Did a lot of the population have to adjust to kind of figuring out how to cook for themselves, in some cases for the first time?
Oh, for sure. I mean, I think that if you were to look at any Google stats, you would see that YouTube videos and recipe sites and anything that was going to help people learn how to cook a little bit more, they were really very popular because, the millennials, they like to cook, but they're not really savvy, and especially when they were working all the time, it was really hard for them to spend very much time cooking. So now all of a sudden they have all this time. They've got all of this, all these groceries that they need to cook. So they did really take hold of that. And for those with families, it was part of that emotional comfort of being able to cook for your family. You're preparing. I call it the stirring effect, which in the past was more about taking something really simple, and the simple act of stirring made it yours. But now it provided more of a comfort in this very uncertain time, so that people could feel good about what they're cooking for their family, and meals became more elaborate. However, if you're a single person, what do you cook? You don't have anybody to care for. You're cooking for yourself, which isn't a lot of fun. So there were ways that they were working around it, of trying to figure out how to cook larger meals perhaps and keeping it frozen. But I think that there's a lot of learning going on in terms of how do I cook? And this could be something that's going to continue on, because once they know how, they can keep doing it, and it becomes easier, and it's not going to take as long.
Well, let me follow up on that, because at the beginning of this pandemic, it seemed wherever you turned, somebody was baking a cake or baking bread or baking, like people were baking stuff, people who'd never baked before. How did that suddenly become a thing?
Well, I think baking is one of those things that has, again, going back to that whole emotional component, is that it has that warmth and it's that comfort. And baking not only provides comes out something delicious, but you end up feeling really, it's like an emotional warm blanket. And especially if you have children, it's something you can do with your children. It's something that you're going to be able to help teach with your kids and keep them occupied. So it had a lot of both, various emotional and functional components to it that allowed people to fill in the time with their family and have a result that was going to be edible.
Well, in most cases. Let me ask Sylvain about the long-range implications of that. Sylvain, you've got a society all of a sudden that's eating a lot more sugar, that's baking a lot more sweets, and the gyms are all closed. And everybody has, most people I've talked to have acknowledged they've all put weight on during the course of this pandemic because they can't exercise as much. Yeah. So take us down the road. What are the implications of this time in history and these new habits that we've created?
Well, we've all been unbalanced by what happened. Let's face it, COVID came violently into our lives. Everyone's lives have been disrupted by COVID one way or another. And I still, 8 months into this pandemic, I still feel that a lot of people are still struggling with this unbalance that we're dealing with. And our daily routines have changed. A lot of people are working from home. And when you work from home, you're close to the kitchen, the heart of the house, but you're closer to the kitchen, you're closer to food, and you're not moving as much. Commuting requires energy. Well, you're not commuting as much anymore. And so all of these things are adding up. The one thing that I would add to the cooking comments that I just heard is that people start to garden way more. There is such a thing as pandemic gardening. In Ontario, the gardening rate was below 30% before the pandemic. It went up to 47% this year. 40 because of boredom, we were home. And frankly, to Marianne's point, people wanted to take control over their lives. They wanted to feel more food secure. And so why not vertically integrate as a household? As you process your food in your kitchen, you can also vertically integrate and grow your own as well. And that's kind of what happened in the spring.
Interesting. Jackie, tell us, you did tell us earlier about how you had to transform your business virtually overnight to accommodate the new realities of COVID-19. How about online shopping? How much of your business before was online and how much of it is online now?
So before the pandemic, 0% was online. We were an experience in itself. People like to come and shop in our store. And especially a lot of the products we sell, like fresh produce, a lot of people like to smell, touch, and feel. They like to do that in-house. About 6 months before the pandemic hit, we had signed on with a third-party delivery service, mrsgrocery.com, and thank goodness we were with them because, of course, that overnight became huge. We went from maybe a handful of deliveries per week to dozens every day. So we were very grateful that we could hit the ground running with that service. Then we started the curbside option, and that was, in the early days, we were doing that the first few days, we were doing that over the phone, which was ridiculous. It was an absolute disaster. So we quickly got a specific email address that people could send their orders to. And we were able to keep doing same-day curbside, which our customers really were grateful for because most stores weren't able to do that in the beginning. So thankfully, also, we were beginning to set up an online shop. So we just sped that up right away. And now people can do curbside through an actual online shop on our website. So it totally transformed us from 0% to maybe we're somewhere in the neighborhood of 5% now. It's still a small component. In the early days, we were probably up around 10%. But like I say, before the pandemic, it was 0%. So it's been a big, big change.
Gotcha. Sylvain, you have a big study coming out tomorrow on some of the changes that have taken place post-pandemic. And I gather we have been able to prevail upon you to scoop yourself with one graphic from your study. And to that end, there we are. Thank you, Sheldon. We have it right now, and I wonder if you could take us through this chart, which essentially asks people, how much of a premium are you willing to pay for locally grown fresh produce? For those listening on podcast and who can't see the chart, let me just read out some of the numbers here. 7% of people are prepared to pay 20 to 40% more. About a third of the people are prepared to pay 10 to 20% more. A little more than a third are prepared to pay less than 10% more. And you've got fully 20.5% of the people who say, I am unwilling to pay a premium.
Yeah, so the whole idea of this report is to look at food autonomy. We've, as a lab, we've been working with a few provinces, including Quebec and New Brunswick, looking at how we can produce more food all year round. And if there is any appetite, no pun, for local foods. And what does local food mean? And by the way, I've been to Jackie's store a few times when I was living in Guelph. It's just an outstanding store, and I know that they've been championing local foods, but local means something different to a lot of different people, and that's what we looked at. Now, with the graph you just showed, we actually looked at the willingness for people to pay for local food, because typically local foods are more expensive, not always, but more expensive. And if you are to use controlled environment agriculture technologies, it will likely cost more. And so you see right now that people are willing to pay more for local foods. But the other thing that we've noticed in our study is that it doesn't necessarily mean that they're actually looking for opportunities either. But we're not convinced. And of course, this is all about motherhood and apple pie. During surveys, a lot of people will answer positive things or in a positive way, but it doesn't necessarily mean that that's exactly what's going on in a store. And I suspect that Jackie would know this. Price is the biggest barrier. I mean, especially right now during a recession, you hear campaigns like Foodland Ontario advocating or telling people to support your local economy. What is it unreasonable to ask people to support the local economy when their budget has been tightened as a result of recession, or maybe they've lost their jobs? So this is something that we need to work on. And what we've been advocating, and we've been telling different provinces, that if you are to push local foods, make it affordable.
Jackie, what's your experience on this issue of whether people are prepared to pay a premium for more local?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I can only speak anecdotally, and my clientele, I mean, one of the main reasons why they shop at our store is because we offer local food. So we tend to cater to the locavores that don't mind spending a little bit more for local. We did have, I think of strawberries off the top of my head, it was a commodity that was, it stayed, a little higher in price throughout the season because of labor shortages and everything else. And our customers, there was some commentary about the price, but they were willing. But again, I would say my clientele are probably not representative of the population at large.
All right, let's try another chart here. Now, this one goes back, Sheldon, this is the Angus Reid chart on the top of page 4, and this one goes back to May. And again, lots of numbers here, so just leave this up for a second, and I'm going to take people who can't see this because they're on podcast. I'm going to take people through this. When the pandemic is over, what do you intend to do more of, if anything? And in the group aged 18 to 34, more than half say they're going to cook more at home when this pandemic is over. And that's actually the number one answer, regardless of demographic. If you go to the 35 to 54 demographic, which are those middle bars, again, the largest percentage by a long way, 48% say we are going to cook more at home. And even those who are over the age of 55, again, the largest percentage, 40%. Say we're going to cook more at home. It's a much smaller number. You would think, I guess, that with nobody allowed to go to restaurants these days, at least in the 4 major pandemic areas in the province, Toronto, Ottawa, Peel, and York, you'd think that there'd be this explosion of people wanting to go to restaurants, but that is a distant second in everybody's responses. Now, admittedly, this is May. Things may have changed now that we're in October. But Marion, let me go to you on that. This notion that people, once the pandemic is over, are going to cook a lot more at home. This trend we're seeing now continuing. You buying?
Definitely. I mean, I think that people are going to cook more. I mean, over a period of time, those people who are cooking at home are going to taper off, because let's face it, the reason that we have convenience foods and the reason that it exploded is because it was a need. It filled the void of having time to be able to prepare your own meals. However, when people learn how to cook, and they're learning, it takes the mystique away from the whole cooking process, and it becomes a little easier every time they do it. And over 8 months, they've been doing it at home every single day, multiple times a day. It becomes easier, and so they'll have a repertoire of things that they can cook easily, and they'll be able to do it, and they'll become proficient, and then they'll increase their repertoire. However, as I said before, as people go back to work and their daily routines become more set, and their children become involved in activities in whatever way that they can be involved, time is going to start to shrink. And those convenience foods are going to continue to provide them with the ability to provide quick, easy meals. But I definitely do still think that there's going to be more cooking, home cooking and scratch cooking at home than there used to be.
Let me pick up on the restaurant angle here. And to that end, I want to play a clip from, this is John Sinopoli, who's the executive chef and owner of something called the Ascari Hospitality Group. We had him on this program several months ago on how restaurants are hoping to survive this pandemic. Here's a little snippet of what he had to say. Sheldon, if you would.
I think that many restaurants are going to shift into being more marketplaces, because you can't fill your space with seats all the way. You're going to want to fill it with product for people just to come in, purchase something pre-made, pre-done, ready to go at home, and like more of a really high-end prepared food shop, because your brand already exists in terms of the experience you provide.
Sylvain, let me go to you on this, because I was a little surprised that the number of respondents who said, yes, we can't wait to get back out to restaurants and eat out again after basically being deprived of that experience for the last 8 months, it's a relatively small number. What do you think that portends for restaurants going forward?
So the way we see food service right now, food service is at about 65% of what it was before COVID. So we are expecting many restaurants to close. In fact, a lot of them have closed already, including the GTA. But there's been a lot of pivoting going on, and this is the one term that we've heard a lot during this pandemic. And restaurants are doing just that. And there's a lot of food brokering, I would say. Also, we're seeing grocers partnering with restaurants and selling meal kits for restaurants to consumers. PC Chef is just one example. It's been announced recently. There's a lot of things going on within the supply chain that would allow food service to have access to some opportunities. Essentially, with COVID, we were talking for many years about this blurring line between food service and food retail. Well, COVID has blown everything up. There is no line anymore. And I think a lot of people are starting to notice that.
Jackie, I'm down to my last minute here. Are you already, or are you looking into partnering with local restaurants in the way that Sylvain just described?
Actually, our local restaurants have pivoted and done fantastically well, but we did reach out to them in the early days and say, look, how can we help you? We're allowed to be open. We recognize that you are not. We're so grateful to be able to be open when you cannot be, and how can we help? A little bit of a side note, we had a local flower shop that was going to lose their Mother's Day because she wasn't able to be open, and we opened up our space to sell her flowers for Mother's Day because we could. And so there are ways that the community was trying to help each other in different ways, but that is an excellent point. We did sell meal kits for a restaurant in Waterloo for a while. It was a great opportunity for us to help, and knowing that we were very fortunate to be able to be open during those times.
And Marion, in just a few seconds, do you anticipate food shortages going forward?
I think that the manufacturers have been able to gear up. The problem is the balance between large sizes and small sizes. So how do you how do you get that right balance of people who really want to buy bulk and people who want to buy the normal sizes? Depending on how things roll out, nobody really knows. How long will the time where we're going to have to line up to get into grocery stores? Is it going to go back to where it was before in April and May, or are we going to be able to kind of wander in, buy what we need, and come out? So it's really about pack size at this stage and trying to figure out what's going to be the best. There'll still be some shortages, though, I expect.
Okay, you three are done. Go bake some bread or something, okay? Sylvain Charlebois, Jackie Fraser, Marion Chan, it's good of all of you to join us on TVO tonight. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
The Agenda with Steve Paikin is brought to you by the Chartered Professional Accountants of Ontario. CPA Ontario is a regulator, an educator, a thought leader, and an advocate. We protect the public. We advance our profession. We guide our CPAs. We are CPA Ontario. And by viewers like you. Thank you.